All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this presentation from Trinet Internet Solutions. We are going to be talking about how to run professional interactive video conference events that get better audience engagement. And just as we get started here and we introduce ourselves, go ahead and tell us where you are watching from. This is a unique season, and we would love to know where are you watching from. Where are you located, and are you at home? Are you in an office? Where are you attending this from? My name is Gregory Sukert, and I am our engagement manager here at Trinet Internet Solutions. And I have with us our Chief Operating Officer, Ron Weber, who is just an incredible digital marketer. Go ahead and say hello, Ron.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for attending.
We're very excited to be with you all. I see we've got Doug from San Diego, and Brian is from Michigan at home. Okay. Yep. Home. That's the way things are going now. All of the barber shops are closed. And so I've been stuck at home and wondering, do I want to take the leap and have my wife cut my hair? I don't know yet. We've got Paul from Laguna Niguel at home, Kimberly from Newport Richley, Florida at home, Eric's at home in Yorba Linda, and Sandra is working from home for, okay, cool, Christian radio. Awesome. Very cool. Bob is at home in Tustin Hills. Rosa's here in Orange County. Linda's Illinois. Wow, we got people from all over. Washington, D.C. Rob's from Running Springs, California. Colette's from Ohio. Great. Well, welcome, everyone. We're very pleased to have you. And we've got a jam-packed event for you today. We really do want to give you the best tips and tricks and strategies that we have to make sure that your business thrives and is not stifled at all during this time. And that is possible. And there's a lot that can be implemented to make sure that your business succeeds even during a time like this. So we're really grateful to have you. And for those who stay until the very end, we're going to have a special gift as well. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. So with that, let's go ahead and get started.
Great. Well, let me tell you a little bit before we jump in about Trinet. We're headquartered in Orange County, California, industry-leading, award-winning, over 100 awards in the last 10 years, full-service digital agency in business now for over 25 years. We do websites and apps and channels and campaigns that continue to create industry benchmarks. And we work with a lot of our clients on live interactive digital events, whether it's lead generating events or fundraising events. So we have expert capabilities in strategy and design, execution, marketing, digital fundraising, and of course, video hosting. I want to play a quick video just to provide a testimony. One of our clients, Barry McGuire, has a great testimony. So let's roll the video now.
Hi, I'm Barry McGuire. I'm the founder and the president of Revival Outside the Walls. Build a global brand and another life. We're visionaries, we're passionate. We've always worked with the best people we could possibly find to get us to where we want to go. We looked around, who's the best digital marketing company we could possibly work with? And wherever we went, we kept hearing this name, Trinet, Trinet, Trinet. And I have to tell you, we're having so much fun working with the people at Trinet. They have so much talent. I mean, we're outside the box all the time, but they're even ahead of us. And the magic that takes place in our meetings, it's just amazing. You know, we're now 2 years into this process and they're no longer a vendor. I mean, they're our friends, our buddies. They're always plussing what we're saying. I love the fact that while they are big and they have these great ideas, they get it. I mean, they fall down in detail to do everything we want to do beyond what we want to do. It's great and easy to have big ideas, but they make them happen. You know, the hotspot for us, of course, is the whole digital world, all aspects of social media. Trinet's building a phone app for us that will blow you away. It is the most exciting digital phenomena I have ever seen. There's internet TV, there's all aspects of new technology coming, and while we have great people in-house, it is the inexhaustible resources of Trinet that are going to make it possible for us to achieve our dreams. So if you have big dreams for your business, if you want to get new customers online, you want to tap into new technology, sure you can do some yourself, but you can't do all of it. That's why you need Trinet.
All right, well, let's jump right into our presentation. And today's presentation, of course, is how to run professional interactive video conference events that get better audience engagement. And let me just do a quick summary of what we're going to cover. So first, we'll do an overview of popular video conferencing platforms, pros and cons of each. We'll talk about, number two, some common features to learn the common video conferencing features that you might want to take advantage of. We'll talk about conferencing logistics, how to make sure that you've set everything up correctly, make sure it works before you go live. Then we'll talk about the great topic, conferencing etiquette. And I'm sure a lot of you have been in GoToMeetings and Zoom meetings in the last few weeks, and you've seen some things that are great and maybe some things that are not so great. So we're going to provide some tips and tricks and advice on video conferencing etiquette. And then we'll talk about the conferencing environment, number 5, learning, what are some of the best, what's the best environment to go live in. By environment, I mean, what kind of setup do you have? What's the environment where you're hosting the meeting? And then number 6, we're going to talk about disaster plans, how to set up and develop your backup systems. And then number 7, a support team. Learn how to bring in a support team and what a support team has to offer. And let's go first to the first topic, which is popular platforms. So let's dive in first with Zoom, which is one of the most popular platforms. It has, last numbers I had, now they've been changing a lot. I think they've had 200 million active users as of March of this year, but they have about 37% of market share, so they're one of the more popular ones. So Zoom, benefits, of course, you have video calling. It's a good platform. There's no buffering, provided you have a good internet connection. There's generally no buffering. There's automatic adjustments. Very rarely is there an audio problem. There's people have issues getting in because of they may be technically challenged, but once you're in, there's generally pretty good audio. They offer audio calling, which is a great option. It's perfect and it's recorded for future review. And we often recommend, if you're attending a conference, sometimes it's a good idea to call in separately with audio as well. Conference calls, it's easy to bring in over 10 plus parties and without any loss in quality. So you'll see the whole screen stacked up. There's great screen sharing. Not a lot of people know how to use the screen sharing. It's easy to use. You get to choose which window or monitor to share. There's scheduling. It's pretty easy to schedule an event, export it to a calendar, and then invite guests. Now, best part is it's free, so you can try it out for up to 100 web participants for up to 40 minutes. If you want to have a longer meeting than that, there's paid versions, which are very reasonably priced. They start at like $15 a month, which gives you the longer meetings, the user management, admin features, which are really important for you to be able to control the conference. plus cloud storage if you're recording the conference, which is sometimes useful. Paid versions, of course, can be extended even further. You can have 500 or 1,000 web participants. Some cons is there's some challenges sometimes in user experience and scheduling. Exporting to a Google Calendar can sometimes be challenging, especially if you're logging into multiple Google accounts. Recording editing, so if you want to edit the recorded meeting, the tools are so. Airtime recording, it doesn't automatically cut out muted segments with only one participant in recording. So there's some issues there. Of course, security, one of the biggest issues that's been in the news recently is the CEO of Zoom came out and just apologized for the lack of security, and that's been because there's been a number of hacks where hackers have been able to get into Zoom meetings and be disruptive and there's some school districts even that have banned Zoom. They're going to use Microsoft Teams. So there you go. That's Zoom for you. Let's chat about GoToMeeting. Gregory, tell us about GoToMeeting.
Yeah, GoToMeeting is another popular alternative for video chat, both internal and external, and it has many great pro features like recordings. GoToMeeting recordings are usually clear, they're easy to understand. Also, their transcripts feature is surprisingly accurate, which is actually really nice if you're trying to get a transcription of what's being said, and you can easily jump to a point in the transcript in case you need to clarify something. So that's a really cool feature. Sharing is great. Screen sharing is a pro definitely for GoToMeeting, and it's generally pretty easy and pretty painless, even for non-technical people, which is always a plus when the interface is easy to use. Calling, the ability to call into a meeting is really a must, especially if one of the attendees or presenters has a spotty internet connection and they're cutting in and out. The ability to just pick up a phone number and dial in and actually start presenting just over the phone is a lifesaver. And so not every platform has that, and that's one of the strengths of GoToMeeting. It has up to 150 web participants in the paid pro plan, and it can be extended to 250 or 3,000 web participants. So you should be able to broadcast to everyone you need to as you seek to get your business out there and promote what you're doing. The cons for GoToMeeting are the reliability. That's really one of the main issue. When it works, it generally works fine, but sometimes it's not always the most reliable. There are a lot of user complaints over the overall reliability of GoToMeeting. Audio sometimes has a big delay, especially when people call into a meeting rather than joining from their computer. So you might see them visually talking, but then the audio comes in later, which can be a bit distracting sometimes. Saved recordings, they do automatically delete any saved cloud recordings after a year, which is a huge issue for any organization that is saving research calls or any sort of calls that they've had internally or externally for a project or just something that they need to reference later on. And if you forget to save that on another sort of storage, it's gone after a year. So that is definitely a con. And then the startup. One of the biggest challenges with the GoToMeeting is their room system struggles to start up effectively. And there are actually tons of jokes, people saying that you have to pay the 5 to 10 minute GoToMeeting tax to get a meeting going, which is just that time it takes to get started, which is not a positive joke to have. And so that's one of the cons. But now we want to look at one that so many know, and that is Webex.
Webex, another good platform. We actually use Webex here internally for a lot of our internal meetings. We also use Microsoft Teams as well, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, we like Webex. We like the quality. The the video is good, high resolution quality, provides a number of connectivity options. Audio quality is we've found to be very good. One of the things that I really like is the call-in. Of course, most of these platforms have call-in from the United States. Webex has call-in numbers all over the world so that you can join the conference for audio, and then you can use your PC just to see the video. So we've found that to be useful as well. There's always local call-in numbers, it seems like, no matter where you are in the world. Add-ons, Outlook add-on is a useful feature. It's a little module that goes into Outlook, and when you're you can create a meeting and it'll automatically schedule the meeting for you. It's really kind of a slick feature. You just add the Webex link to your invitations, and then you can also do the launch the meetings with a one click. So I really like that feature. Mobile, it has got a good, robust mobile interface as well. Both the desktop and the mobile version have lots of features to be able to share, control the screens. There's good interaction with users. You can give or restrict access, message features, and so on. Recording, you can record meetings and save them for later use. They've got a great 30-day free trial, which allows up to 200 participants to use as long as you like, and then they've got paid plans that will take you even further. Some cons are I've seen this. It seems like it's being constantly updated. However, it's a other members have to update their software as well. So if you don't have that automatic update set up, sometimes you have to do the update first before you can get into the meeting, and that can delay a meeting. Some good features, the functionality of completely blocking the room was useful. It was removed. Hopefully it'll be added again. The screen sharing, there is definitely a lag when you're using Webex, sharing the screen, or after you're annotating or doing a takeover other user's screen for a period of time. The interface is nice. We like it. It's simple. But somehow users still struggle with the controls. I think they're third in market share. I think Zoom has the 37%. I think GoToMeeting somewhere around 22, and Webex is about 13% market share. Still a good solution. We like it. It's always been reliable, and we've never had any issues with Webex. So we definitely like Webex. Well, I'll have Gregory chat a little bit about Free Conference.
Free Conference is a great option if you're looking for something to start dabbling in related to video conferencing. Maybe you've never done a video conference internally or externally, and Free Conference is a very easy to use platform that is very user-friendly. And one of its pros is that it has really good recording. You have the ability to record the call and access it later on your computer. It's also easy to make an individualized link to send to people. So if you need to send recordings and invites, it all comes very easily. And the Q&A queue is an amazing addition. The ability to actually see all your questions in a single queue and go through them one at a time is completely free of cost, and it's by far their best feature. So it's really great for having interactive events where people feel heard and people feel like they can participate. The interface is great. Users love how quick it updates, how great the quality is, and the summary emails you get afterwards. You always get a summary about how the call went, how the quality was, and just some basic analytics. And that's just a really great tool to have that snapshot. As far as the cost, it's called Free Conference. It would be pretty sad if it was called Free Conference and did not have a free plan. So thankfully, it does have a free plan for up to 5 web participants. Plans up to 100 web participants you can go higher. Some cons are dropped calls. So sometimes drop callers will call out and they have trouble returning if they do fall out, and that could be very frustrating to our customers and perhaps to yours if they call out and they fall out and there's not an easy way to get back in. Pay for translations. If you're doing international work or you have nonprofit work that you're doing internationally and you want things to be, transcripts and things to be provided in translations, that is a feature that you have to pay for, understandably. Screen sharing, the big downside is participants do have to download a software in order to share their screens. And a lot of other companies don't require that users download a software on their business computers to use that feature. And that can be challenging too sometimes when business IT companies and departments block that software. So it's a big shortcoming that there's no way to do screen sharing outside of that. And now we have Google Hangouts.
Yeah, Google Hangouts. We wanted to include Google Hangouts because a lot of people use it. It's a lot of people have signed up, and so just wanted to include that as well. There's some good pros to it. It's got a pretty simple interface. It's pretty basic. You don't generally have any problems with the connection. Meetings seem to have the video quality is pretty good. It's nice because it's cross-platform, so you can use it on multiple types of devices. It's got some nice integrated functionality with the video conferencing image insertion. It's got a whiteboard feature as well. Of course, it's free, so it's a Google product. Works seamlessly with your Google account. As a Google product, of course, it's being constantly updated and improved. And so one of the cons is it's actually being phased out later this year. It's going to be replaced with Google Chat and Google Meet. So those eventually that product is going to go away, but it's going to continue to evolve, and hopefully those features will be carried through to those new products. There's some other cons or missed notifications. Sometimes you'll get a chat message but won't get a notification, or sometimes there's kind of an odd delay. It just won't register as a new message. Invitations, in order to chat with someone, you need to send them an invitation first, and it's a little clunky and cumbersome sometimes to connect with new people. Next is file sharing. Wish it could send files, not just photos. Anything typed into the chat isn't necessarily saved, and there's a limit of no more than 10 devices that can be connected during a meeting. But if you have a quick meeting with just a few people, it might be just fine for you. If that's all you need is just a place to get together and you've got a small number of people. So there you go. That's Google Hangouts. Now, Gregory, tell us about Skype.
Yeah, so Skype is a Microsoft product, and when we were talking about Microsoft products, as they are some, I did see a question there. Are these platforms more secure than Zoom? I would say definitely that the Microsoft products do have higher rankings in security. So Skype, especially Google or Microsoft Teams. And so that's one of the reasons why these are good platforms to consider, especially for internal use. Skype has really good quality. It does video calls very well. The connection is usually very good, and the video quality is good. The mobile support is excellent. With Skype, you can access it on a mobile phone, on an iPad, on a tablet. It's pretty awesome. And you hardly ever need to use Skype on a computer because it has all the features that you need. Free, it is free for whatever you need. You only need to purchase Skype credits if you need to use the voicemail feature, send SMS texts, or make calls to a landline, cell, or outside of Skype. So you can go, pretty crazy talking to people via Skype and not have to pay any fees. The cons are the integrations. We do wish that Skype was integrated more into other apps that we use. Although we do like Skype a lot, we prefer to use Google Meets because we get a conference link when we add a meeting to the calendar. It just makes it easier. Screen sharing on low bandwidth is a pain on Skype. Sometimes it requires us to restart the call. Inviting contacts it's actually the most annoying part with Skype, because sometimes you're trying to find a user. They're saying, this is my Skype name. You search that Skype name, it's just not showing up. And if you're just searching their name, let's say you don't have their info and you're just trying to find them quickly, sometimes it's very difficult for them to appear. So their search functionality could definitely be improved. And then the experience, so customers experience issues once they get on a call of more than 25 people. So if you're working within that range of under 25, Skype is usually a great option, except for the cons that we mentioned. But when you start pushing over 25, even the good things like quality and the experience, that it does go down. So now we'll move into a newer one on this list, and that is Google Duo.
Google Duo, yeah, we want to include Google Duo, and there's also FaceTime as well is in this category of conferencing, where it's just basically you're doing face-to-face conversations, and there may not be any other materials that you're necessarily presenting, and these may be fine for those uses. Surprisingly, Google Duo can handle up to 8 people on a conference, and I forget, Gregory, do you recall how many are possible on FaceTime? I think it's like 10 with the group feature or something like that.
Yeah, I did see a question there about Apple. Yeah, FaceTime actually lets you do up to 32 people in a group call. Yeah,
so it's pretty good, and it's mobile devices, so it's great if it's just an impromptu meeting. If you want something more professional, Google Duo or FaceTime may not be the right choice, but for quick meetings, it may work really well. The nice thing with of course Google Duo is you can run it on Android as well as on iOS devices, which are the two, of course, main competitors in the smartphone market. It's free. The Duo app offers 720p high def video calling to all of its users, so that's great. It's good performance. I've never had any problems with Google Duo. Sometimes if your internet connection isn't particularly good, it can drop back or get choppy. But generally, I've been pleased, even on relatively low bandwidth areas. I've been able to do have good success with Duo calls. It really provides it does a good job at providing, even when you have low speed and low internet bandwidth. You can easily video call someone who's already in your contacts list. In fact, first thing it does when you boot it up, it says, "Can I access all your contacts?" And so if you let it, it'll import all your contacts, and then you can easily Google Duo any of those, either voice or video. The limit, of course, is you've got up to 8 people that can participate in a Google Duo call. It does require signups. You've got to set up an account to use the app. There's no way to reject a call with a message easily. Sometimes, and there's forced video, there's no way to accept a call without video. And the battery draining is probably the biggest one. So if you're sitting on your mobile phone and you're doing a long Duo call, you'll just watch that battery go down really quickly. So that's Google Duo. So let's chat now about Uber Conference. Gregory.
Uber Conference, you've heard of Uber, the car taxi service, but this is Uber Conference. It won't get you places physically, but it'll get you everywhere in the world digitally. So Uber Conference is great for a few things. The first is its experience. It's very easy to log in. And when you send a link out to those who haven't used the site before, it doesn't require any downloads or any plugins to join the conference or to view a screen share. And that's a huge win. So if you're trying to make this experience easy for your attendees, the more they have to do, the harder it's going to be to run events and to keep people coming and to keep your audience engaged. So Uber Conference is great because it's a link, no software, just click the link, accept, pretty easy to use for your attendees. Another great benefit and pro for Uber Conference is screen sharing. This screen sharing function is very strong. It connects quickly, and rarely will you get disconnected unless you're in a bad service area. So we love that reliable screen sharing with Uber Conference. The interface, the site has a very clean look to it. Now, it's not the most fancy, like it doesn't have the most features, bells and whistles, but that actually makes it really nice if you're just looking for something simple and clean that will let you do the bare necessities for video conferencing without letting other things slow you down or get in the way. Some cons are customer sharing. So while the screen share function as the presenter is easy, your guests do have to go through a few steps if they want to share their screen with you. And so that may be a con if you work in a business or service where you would need your attendees to share their screen with you, sometimes it is a little complicated on the attendee side. Mobile support, it doesn't allow users to join the web conference through a smartphone. It forces them to join it from their regular cell phone line. So that can be a big downside if you really do want people to join just straight through their mobile internet connection via Wi-Fi and rather than through a cell phone line. The waiting music. So actually one of the biggest complaints for Uber Conference is the music. People have complained time and time again about the music that plays when people are waiting to join the conference, and they just have not changed it yet. I imagine they will because the complaints keep getting higher and higher, but as of now, that is still a big con for many users. And then the recording this is a big bummer, is that the recording only records the audio. It doesn't do any video recording. So if you need to send a video afterwards, you would have to use a separate screen recording app in order to leverage it. And so now we'll go on to Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Teams, a good product as well. Some really good pros to it. One is there's a lot of integrations with a host of applications. Of course, Microsoft applications to begin with, but a lot of other integrations to make it work well with other communication software tools. It comes bundled with Office 365 and if you get Business Essentials, it's included in there as well. Although for businesses, there is a $5 per user per month fee for using Teams. For nonprofits, now if you're a nonprofit, you can. I mean, it's totally free. So if you're using Office 365 as a nonprofit, this may be a really where Teams would really have a good advantage for you, especially if you've already got an Office 365 subscription. Interface, it's easy to make new meetings, ensure that those who are needing to attend are notified. The best part is having one platform to chat, screen share, create projects, share files. It also has kind of a cool blur background feature in video conferencing. Zoom has a feature where you can put a different background on as well. Security is also probably one of the biggest pros for Microsoft Teams. It's got really good security, so you're not going to have situations where you've got a troll or somebody else coming into your meeting or into your presentation. So that's good. User limits 250 for a meeting, 20 for private chat. In video calls, the last 4 speakers are displayed as quarters on the screen. So what are some cons? Well, file sharing, you can't necessarily easily choose where to put files from conversations. They're automatically put in Teams SharePoint, so sort of dumped in that place. Bandwidth, there's been some, if you don't have a good internet connection, you may have some slowness or some choppiness with this. It uses a lot of CPU and memory, and so that can cause your software to lag. So you want to close other applications down and make sure that Teams is the only thing that you're running, just to give it as much memory as possible. In presenting, it lacks the ability to make one screen the main screen during a video call. Be nice to be able to pick a primary screen if you have one main presenter and then multiple people on the call. So some pros and cons. Notifications, be nice to have some more options for customizing notifications. There's a limited amount right now. So yeah, if you're a business, you already have an Office 365 subscription. It's not a whole lot more to get that. If you're a nonprofit, it's free. So the security is good. So Microsoft Teams, it's also a great choice. Now I'm going to have Gregory chat about point 2, some common features.
Yeah, Laura did ask the question, are you saying Uber Conference doesn't work well with laptops, only cell phones? No, Uber Conference does work well with laptops. What we were saying is that if you use a cell phone, it does dial you into the call via the cell phone line rather than through an internet connection. So use it away with laptops. You're really gonna like it on a laptop. So some common features for these conferencing platforms is, well, when you're going on online meetings, you have some features that you really need to think through in order to have the most engaging presentation possible. So you can have features such as basic video conferencing, You can have dial-in phone option only. Now, if you're not doing video, you're not going to have as engaging as a meeting. It's just, when you've got a slide like this and other features that plug and play, you're going to have a lot more engaging of a online event. So you want to make sure that you have that feature if you're really going for the highest engagement and not using just the dial-in phone option only. But that is a good backup in case there's a weak internet connection. Whiteboarding is very, very good for interactive online events. It's just really helpful if you need to diagram something or if you want to screen share something and mark it up. If someone needs clarification, you can write it out and draw pictures. That's a very, very useful feature to consider in your software that you use for having the most engaging event possible. Screen sharing, of course, we've mentioned that a lot. That's very, very good for developing an engaging online event. The remote screen control features, that one's great if you need another user to demonstrate something from their computer for the audience or just for you. That's going to keep things very engaged and moving along. So as you're seeing these, think through, what does your organization need? Do you need to draw things out? Do you need to diagram things? Do you need to share your screen? Do you need to integrate a PowerPoint? Some of these platforms, they actually have an area where you can upload a PowerPoint presentation and use their feature to present. Others, you have to use their screen sharing feature and then open up a separate app like PowerPoint or Keynote to present. So look through and see which one of these you really need to communicate the things you need to communicate with your business and audience. Number 6 is collaborative annotation features. So some do allow you to actually share annotations collaboratively, which is pretty powerful if you're trying to do group engagement together. Taking questions. So, the platform needs to have either a strong chat feature or a strong Q&A feature, like a Q&A deck or something like that. Having a platform with features like that is really going to help you have the most engaging event possible. Also, voting and polling. A lot of these platforms have the ability, you can write out questions with predetermined answers, and people can fill those out via a poll. And those are really, really engaging for your audience. So if you want to have the most engaging event possible, you want to make sure that people are experiencing polls, being asked questions, being asked to participate in the chat, things like that. And just before we move on, I just want to ask a question in the chat. Which video conferencing platforms and webinar platforms do you use? Are there any that you really like, that you really have benefited from, that you would like to share with everyone attending? Let us know what you use, and we'd be really curious to see if your favorites are our favorites too. And while you're typing that, we'll talk about choosing the right platform.
And actually, before you go to that slide, just one more point on online meetings. There's some really cool. Zoom has a really cool feature whereby you can create breakout rooms. So you can have a keynote speaker and have that person take up the screen, and then when you're all going to, let's say you want to do a breakout and have individual groups talking, you can actually set up separate breakout rooms in Zoom. That's kind of a really cool feature. Another important feature, I think, of video platforms, and you want to get the administrators access to be able to do this, is to be able to zoom in. Sometimes when people are talking, for example, on Zoom, it'll automatically bring that screen to the front. Sometimes you'll want to feature or spotlight a certain person and keep it on that person. And so you have the ability to be able to do that, certainly on Zoom and on a lot of other platforms. And you want to have somebody there to help you while you're running it, to be able to do that, to be able to feature a particular speaker if you're having a group discussion. So now, choosing the right platform, one of the most important questions to ask when you're choosing, or three of the important questions to ask. One is the participant limit. What is how many people do I anticipate that I'm going to access the conference? Do we want guests joining as participants and presenters, or just as muted viewers? And that's an important consideration. And what kind of an event is it? Is it an event where a lot of the participants are contributing, or is it more of a seminar kind of event where you have one or two presenters and then you have an audience that is just watching and mute? That the type of conference and type of event you want to do is important to consider when you're considering the right platform. The next is the features. Do you need analytics, screen sharing? Do you want to record it for later use? Do you want to be able to do breakout rooms? Do you want to be able to present a PowerPoint? Those are all important considerations as well to consider when you're picking the right platform. Ease of use as well. Does the solution require an app or an account to join? Can it be accessed easily via a link? Is the interface simple? Is it relatively straightforward for anyone to jump on and to be able to use? So some important considerations for the right platform. Next, I'm going to have Gregory touch on some video conferencing logistics.
All right, so now we're getting into the logistics of hosting the most engaging online event possible. Really, it starts off at the beginning. And so when you welcome people onto your event, you always want to start out with a question. If you notice when you came on to this event, the first thing that was asked was, where are you watching from? And are you watching from home? Are you watching from your office? And it's just fun to read the comments and start actually welcoming people by name. Hey, Susie from Long Beach, Aaron from Huntington. You get to actually introduce and say hello to your attendees. That's a really, really powerful way to start off your event, because you're going to have people feeling excited. You're going to have them feeling acknowledged, and it really does increase the overall atmosphere and vibe of the presentation. So make sure you greet attendees, give a clear indication that the meeting is officially starting. I think one of the worst online events is when you log in and people are just kind of sitting there, and someone starts talking, and then another person starts talking, and then another person starts talking, and probably like 4 people in, you realize, oh, it actually started, and there wasn't like a clear indication like, welcome, hello, this is our presentation, this is what we're going to be doing. And so make sure you give a clear indication about the event actually starting at this point. Also, be specific when the meeting is ending. Be sure to end the meeting so that attendees are no longer able to see and interact with you. That's another mistake that a lot of people make, and they really cut the engagement and kill the engagement of their online events, is they don't give a clear indication that the event has ended, and they forget to actually end the event, to hit the stop button, and people kind of just sit there and they're all looking at each other awkwardly on their webcams, and they don't realize until 5 minutes later, oh, the event ended. And so make sure you give a really clear just statement that this is ending, say goodbye, and be sure to end the software so that people are sent away rather than just hanging there.
Very good. And let me chat now about administrators. As an administrator, how do you prepare for this? Well, one of the most important things is to understand your conference controls before the conference begins. Make sure you're logged in as an administrator, not as a regular user, because often if you're not logged in as an administrator, you don't get the special controls to be able to do things like mute and mute everyone and so on. So make sure you log in as the administrator. And then secondly, do a dry run. Do a dry run with a few staff or with a few friends to test and make sure you understand how the controls work. I've been in several meetings recently where it was just pandemonium. There was no muting, or there was just things were just really going awry. So make sure you understand how to use it, get trained on it in advance, and spend some time to do that in advance. Test your audio video quality, check to see if there's any lagging, have somebody else watch it remotely to see what the experience is like. So make sure you do that before you begin. Get trained, understand how to use the administrator features. Most of these platforms, they've got training videos. It's relatively easy to do. Just invest the time in doing it and do a dry run. Really important. So Gregory, tell us about some connection considerations.
Excellent. And yeah, I just want to thank you all for sharing your favorite platforms. I see some really great recommendations in there, and just people helping each other out. So keep replying to each other. I just love seeing the helpful spirit in the chat room. And yeah, we're going to be doing some Q&A at the end too. So any other questions you have, we'll make sure we help you out. And so now we just want to talk about just a super quick overview about connecting your video chat. Obviously, when it comes to engagement, you want to make sure that you have the strongest engagement, the strongest connection possible. And so you can connect via a Wi-Fi network, which has slower data transfer speed. It's more portable. You can take your laptop anywhere in the office or home and do it anywhere from there, as long as your signal's strong. But it does suffer from signal interference. The other option is you can do a direct Ethernet connection, which has faster data transfer speeds and delivers a consistent speed. You're not going to have that signal interference, because you're not moving around a wall. There's not like a plant or a TV or another room blocking the signal. You're connected directly via a cable, so that's going to be your strongest, most consistent form of connection. It's not going to be as portable because you're strapped down, but it's going to be your strongest, most reliable. Your third, which we do bring this up because we like it as a backup. I mean, there's nothing that kills an event like not having a backup connection solution. And so we have this as a hotspot because it's really great to actually have a data supplied connection from a cellular carrier that you can connect to a 4G or even 5G now connection with your laptop or with your computer, just in case your Wi-Fi or Ethernet goes out. And so this is very nice. It's very portable. It can be taken anywhere as long as you have a strong cellular connection. It's always a good idea to have a hotspot backup so that your event keeps going and you don't lose attendees because of a bad internet connection.
And just to make it really clear, we recommend that the presenters always have an Ethernet connection whenever possible. Wi-Fi is just too unreliable, and then have a hotspot as a backup. And then another point, I think I mentioned this earlier as well, make sure you close all other open apps, no matter what platform you're using, just to give as much memory as possible to the online video conferencing software. So let me jump then into meeting and event team. When we prepare for an online event, there's 4 different roles that we think about in terms of how to prepare. There's a master trainer, somebody who's going to train the speakers and everyone else as to how to use the conference features. There should be, a master of ceremonies or host. That's another role. That would be an on-camera role. There's a master meeting administrator who should be off-camera, monitoring and being able to answer any questions as they come in. So we always recommend that there's an off-screen master meeting administrator, especially if it's a larger meeting, if it's any kind of a public meeting, to do that. And then, of course, presenters and speakers on camera, and each of them need to be trained on and do a dry run with them on the conference or on the presentation before you get there, just so that they understand how to use the meeting controls. Very, very important. So these are the different roles that you need to be thinking of. Now, often when you're doing meetings, you might have multiple roles. You might be the master of ceremonies and you might be the presenter speaker. It's always good to have somebody in the background, though, to help you with the meeting, just to man the computer, because you just never know what's going to happen. If there's any technical issues or people have difficulty getting in and they're emailing or texting and calling, have somebody else do that so that the presenter can focus on what they do best, which is doing the presentation. So Gregory, tell us about handling videos successfully.
Yeah, sometimes you need to share a video in your presentation or your conferencing call, and some platforms work differently for that. So some require that you upload your videos to your conference platform ahead of time, and then that conference platform actually handles the playing of that. Or you can provide the conference platform a link to like a YouTube video or a Vimeo video, and then you're just able to stream that through the conference platform as it integrates automatically with YouTube or Vimeo. And so you have those two options, either uploading directly or uploading via a YouTube or Vimeo stream. Sometimes the conference supports it. Sometimes you just have to do it over a screen share. When you do screen share, it is always not as good of a video experience because sometimes the audio doesn't come through. Sometimes you have to make sure that you have a setting checked where they can hear your computer audio. And if they don't, they can't hear the video. The platform that we're using right now, Webinar Jam, it's really great. We just provide a YouTube or Vimeo link, and then we just hit play within the platform, and it'll stream directly from YouTube or Vimeo. So videos are a huge part of what you do and is a big part of your events, which they should be online because they dramatically increase engagement. Just by having one little video break can dramatically increase the engagement of your event. So you should have those. And these are the ways that you would do it. You could share your screen, upload, stream through YouTube. Just make sure that the conferencing platform supports video if this is an important feature, and then always test before you go live. There's nothing like thinking you have a video ready to play, and then you tell your audience we're about to play a video, and then you can't figure out how to get it to work, and then you're just stumbling trying to figure out how to play a video. So test that always beforehand.
All right. Well, before you go live, we always recommend when you're doing your dry run that you test different browsers and devices. So test it on different platforms, phone, tablet, desktop, and even on different browsers, Chrome, Edge, IE, Firefox, and Safari. One of the things that I've often seen happen, whether it's in Zoom conferences or others, is that some people are connecting, let's say, via a tablet, and the user interface is different on a tablet than it is on a desktop or than it is on a phone. And so the people are trying to give the person technical support. They say, click the button in the upper right-hand corner. And the guy's saying, well, there isn't one. Oh, wait a minute. It's in a different part of the screen because I'm on a tablet. So just be aware that some of these user interfaces, they look different. The buttons have are in different places on different devices. So when your person who's your master administrator, who's helping people get connected, is messaging them, that you give the right information based on which platform they're joining on. So an important consideration before you go live. Just do a quick test. All right.
Excellent. So now we're going to move on to video conferencing etiquette, just how to present yourself in the best light forward so that your events go smoothly and effectively. Before you go live and before the conference begins, you really need to log in early. Being there ahead of time is going to help you re-familiarize with the platform, help you feel confident, help you feel prepared. There's just nothing like going into an online event and you feel anxious and you feel like it's the last minute and you feel that stress. If you go in ahead of time, you're going to remove a lot of that, which is going to dramatically improve how you present and feel on camera. Make sure you test the audio, the video, any video inserts, screen sharing, all that before the conference begins. You want this event to be engaging, so all this needs to be tested ahead of time. Make sure you know and understand how to control attendees and speakers. Make sure you know how to mute attendees. Make sure you know how to mute speakers. Make sure you know how to use the chat room and manage chats. If you get someone in your chat room who's just causing a ruckus, make sure you know how to either delete chats or kick out that user from the chat room and the presentation or the online event. You don't want to be figuring that out on the spot. So by taking these steps, you're going to have the best event possible. And then a bonus is you can provide user guides, especially if you have particular instructions, like your users need to share their screens, they need to learn how to ask questions. You can provide a simple PDF guide ahead of time with instructions, so that way they're prepared on using the platform and you're not waiting on your users as they participate as well. So these are some great steps that you can use to make sure that your event flows as smoothly and engagingly as possible.
All right. Well, it's time to ask a question as we're getting into the next topic, which is the video conference environment and etiquette. So I want you guys to to write in the chat column there, what's the pet peeve that you've seen in online meetings? Is it people who don't mute their microphone? Is it things that are going on in the background? Share with us what things you've seen in online meetings that have been distracting or and so on. And while we do that, let's just take a quick break and answer some of the questions. Doug asked about profiling platforms other than Webinar Jam. Yes, we're using Webinar Jam. We wanted to focus this on more the meeting type of platforms where there were multiple people together. Webinar Jam is a great one. We use Webinar Jam for these types of presentations where there's a small number of presenters and a large number of attendees that perhaps are muted. So we use Webinar Jam for that purpose. We use we use Webex, and we use Microsoft Teams for internal meetings. And so those are some of our favorites. So we see the usage is a little bit different. It depends on whether you've got an event where you have multiple people that you have contributing, or whether you have an event where it's 1 or 2 or 3 to many, where you're presenting. That we have different preferences for platforms there. So yes, we didn't cover Webinar Jam because we were focusing more on the interactive type meetings. But Webinar Jam, we love Webinar Jam. EverWebinar is another good solution as well. Let's see. Edward mentioned background distracting unrelated noises. Very true. Kelly asked about which platforms have security to protect privacy and confidentiality. Stopped using Zoom for this reason. I know Zoom is updating their platform. Certainly Microsoft Teams has really good security. So we would recommend that as a viable option as well. So let's go into the next, which is the video conferencing environment, and what is the ideal setup. So unmuted speaking, that's definitely a problem, and that's one thing that you need to, as a administrator, you need to be able to have the ability to unmute or sort of mute all or some, and so you need to understand how to do that and make sure you pick a platform where you can do this. So the ideal setup, first off, is if you're doing the presenting, and even if you're participating in a Zoom meeting, invest in either a lapel microphone or a headset. Don't use the built-in laptop microphone because there's you get a lot of echo, and also there's sometimes feedback with the speakers because definitely not recommended. Logitech has good headsets, so either a headset with an earbud or a lapel microphone with an earbud is the best solution. So make sure you have, and sound and audio is so critical. You have to have clear sound and audio. Think about the camera angle. Make sure the camera angle is properly framed at eye level. If you've got a laptop, don't sit it down on your desk. Raise it up so that, if you are using that camera, it's at eye level. Hopefully you have a separate high definition camera that you can mount it at eye level. And lighting is very important as well. You don't want to come across that you're dark or that your image is dark. So make sure you've got good lighting. There's some great options out there. Newer has a great light ring that's a really good option, and you can mount the camera right in the middle of the light ring, so that produces and enough bright light so that you that you look good. Video quality. Another important point, make sure you've got an HD camera. Logitech makes great 1080p webcams that are really easy to set up. You plug them in via USB. So make sure you've got a good video quality. Make sure it's not grainy as well. Next is background noise, and we had some notes about that. John had a question about, it says Newer, it's Neewer, Neewer light ring. So background noise, make sure you're in an area where there's no dogs barking, children screaming or crying. Make sure you disconnect or silence all nearby phones so that they're not going to be a distraction. Background scene, make sure you don't have messy desk. You're not doing it from your garage, or you've got walls, shelves, dirty windows. Make sure that you've got a nice background. Even better is if you can get a background screen. That's even better. Background activity. So if you've got people coming up behind the person and watching, or kids and dogs interrupting, very distracting. Whether you're in a meeting where you have multiple people contributing, or any kind of meeting like that, if you're a presenter, you have to make sure that use a back screen so that people can't come up behind you, and do your best to create a very quiet environment where you're not going to be interrupted. We recommend using green screens or using a pop-up screen. With that, you could even put your event logo can be superimposed on it. So yet another option that you might want to think of, but it just removes distractions, and it prevents this kind of voyeurism where people are spending more time looking at what's behind you than looking at you. So an ideal setup. So now let's talk about disaster plans. Gregory.
Disaster plan. So what do you do when the worst case scenario happens? As we mentioned before, there's nothing worse than your internet going out, your computer failing. So how can we plan for that? And how can we actually have a great plan to overcome that immediately so that our event goes on without any further hiccups? So some great ways to do that is that you can reduce and recover quickly from any challenge just by following these steps. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you have a backup computer, laptop, or mobile device that is compatible with your platform on hand. Load any presentation assets you have, like your PowerPoint or anything that you use, video inserts, onto that device. So that way, should your computer crash and you need to switch over to the other device, you're ready to go. You don't have to transfer files. You don't have to get a USB. You're ready to go. The other thing you want to do is make sure you have a MiFi device on hand. We talked about that. Internet outages are an unfortunate part of an online digital presentation, and the way you can lower that risk is by having a MiFi device connected with a cellular connection. And the third is just make sure you have the support number for whatever provider you're using on hand, because there's nothing worse than having the event fail, the technology fail, and then you're trying to find the number in Google and find the support email, the support chat. Have all that on hand so that way you can get a support expedited, sent out immediately, so that you can get that help you need sooner rather than later by scrambling for the support info. And trust us, by planning for these three things, by having these things on hand, you're going to have the most engaging events on the internet. People are going to love attending your events. They're going to love how you handle outages. They're going to know that when they come to your event that they're in good hands, and that no matter what happens, they're going to get great value from your event. So now we'll go on to professional teams.
Yeah. So, what are some things that could go wrong? Well, when you do one of these live events, well, one is you don't have enough people showing up. You have very few people showing up. Well, a couple of ways to address that. One, of course, is you've got to let people know about the event. So the obvious one is email marketing, to send out notification to your email list of that, hey, this event is coming up. Make sure you give enough time in advance. We generally recommend advertising and sending out emails 2 to 3 days before the event. Sometimes if you do it too far in advance, people forget about it. So we generally do it week of, because then people say, oh, okay, I can do it on a Thursday or on a Wednesday. Also, we we did another webinar recently where we talked about the planning of some of these events. If you're doing a live event, we recommend, of course, that you do it either on a Wednesday or a Thursday and then do the marketing. So what could go wrong? Not enough people showing up. There's ways to handle that with digital marketing and with email marketing. With digital marketing, you can actually advertise. There's the ability to be able to create an advertising campaign reaching and targeting the kinds of people that you're interested in getting into the event. So that's one way you can address that. Next is complaints about the event, sound, audio, video, and just the stuff that happens as the event is going on. It's important to have a behind-the-scenes professional assistant to do that. Don't try to do it all yourself. It's very frustrating for the participants when the moderator has to spend time trying to get somebody to join. Make sure you have an assistant with a ability to be able to communicate out to your participants, and that person is the point person to get the people online so that the presenter can continue on. So of course, there's technical problems during the event as well. That's why it's a good idea to have behind-the-scenes professional assistants. Awkward transitions, sometimes, especially between an on-screen host, and that's why you want to have an on-screen host and a facilitator. If there's one person sometimes trying to get multiple people to talk in a certain sequence, sometimes it's good to have somebody else controlling that and have a master administrator to help you with that. Trying to handle everything yourself, an off-screen professional can really be a huge benefit to your event. Also, people are sometimes unaware of conference etiquette. There's stories of people jumping into Zoom meetings, trolls, embarrassing distractions, people not muting, even spotlighting. Say you have 10 people and one person is talking. If other people don't have their mics unmuted, sometimes it won't go full screen. There's a lot of systems where you can force one to go full screen if they're showing something or talking about something. So, but it's important to have somebody off screen who's helping you to do that, assisting you. If you're overwhelmed, trying to do it all yourself, and also, participants can get a poor impression of your organization if the production isn't good. So that's ways that to prepare your team. And then finally, shortcutting your way to video conferencing success. The benefits of partnering with experts. Trinet we've had years of experience doing events of huge events, medium events, small events. So we have professional production, experience, technical support, smooth, successful event. You'll just have peace of mind. So we offer our services as well to help you to run a successful event. So to launch a successful live event, which is the next slide, is first off, training of the host and the speaker. You want to have a master trainer, train someone to be the master of ceremonies and the host. What's involved in that? Train a master meeting administrator, train them on how to use that system. Getting people to attend through email marketing or digital advertising. Preparing the event content and the sequence, and then expert assistance in setting up and running the live event. It's having an experienced event team can be a huge blessing. And then a good end user experience helps promote a very positive brand, and post-event follow-up messaging as well. These are all important items that really we can help with. So if you need someone to help you with an event, we're more than happy to do that. Gregory, why don't you take us to the next slide? And I think we've got a gift and some an offer.
Sounds good. Yeah. So we wanted to give you guys, I know this was a lot of information, but we really do care about your success, and we want you to thrive and be able to take what you learned and implement it so that you can connect and continue business as best as usual during these times. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you everything that we've put together today, just completely as a free gift, so you can have it as a step-by-step guide to accelerate your procedures and processes to make sure that you're launching the best online events possible. So if you are logged in, you should see the download available now if you're still with us. And so feel free to download that, and we would encourage you to, just as a free gift, a thank you from us for attending. We really do hope it serves you well. We know it will. A lot of good information went into that. So now we'll get into some Q&A. But before I opened up our Q&A, I did also want to let you know that these are pretty unusual times, and there are a lot of people trying to get help with their online conferencing and webinars and anything like that. And if you did want a call with us, Ron has generously offered to open up his calendar for an hour for anyone who wants to discuss on just further things one-on-one with technology and equipment and software and best practices. Things are pretty busy in these times for a digital agency, as you can imagine, but Ron has opened up his calendar. So please feel free to take use of that. We would encourage you to talk with Ron, and he would love to help you. So now we'll go on to Q&A. I see Kelly Miller saying, I don't see any download. Do you all, do the other attendees here, do you see a download? Just type yes if you see that download, and maybe you can help Kelly out. It's under files. You should see a little red dot under files. And if you click that, you'll be able to get the presentation for your use. Excellent. Looks like it's there now. Cool. Kimberly asks, what would be an ideal setting for a virtual town hall meeting, allowing for our video and audio and good participant interaction that limits background noise or people talking over each other?
That's a great question. Most video conferencing platforms, Zoom, GoToMeeting, have ability to be able to mute others, where you have the control of, say, one speaker versus another speaker. So a lot of the platforms you can use for that, Zoom, GoToMeeting, and others. Part of it also for people not talking over one another. Of course, you can go back to Robert's Rules of Order, which is handy as well for conducting meetings. But yeah, a good have an assistant who can help with running the meeting to be able to mute and unmute people as they're given time, and also can monitor the time that they're talking. And most of the platforms allow you to do that. That's a way to do that. Make sure also that you've got that when you're doing the meeting, you've got a quiet environment where you're presenting, and you've got somebody to help you if you're the meeting leader as well.
Very good. Kimberly says, want to allow participant involvement with phone also and not chat. Yeah, so the platforms that will make the most sense for you are going to be ones that allow that call-in support. And so if you go back to the slides, on the handout we just gave out, you'll see all the ones that support call-in, and those will be ones that you're going to want to use for your events. Ron, I had another question. So, when we're talking events, I know a lot of this is geared towards really engaging internal events. Do you have other recommendations for maybe bigger scale events where you can invite like an external audience to attend? Some other platforms that would work well for that?
Sure. Yeah, and I touched on it a little bit earlier. I said, this presentation is a little bit more oriented toward the meetings, either the internal or public meetings where there's multiple contributors. When you have more of a seminar, or you're giving more of a presentation where you're featuring speakers and you've got a large number of attendees that are either attending mute or other, then good choices for that are Webinar Jam. We're using Webinar Jam right now for this particular presentation because it's really a couple of speakers and then a large number of attendees. Crowdcast is another. You can use GoToWebinar is another good option. Click Meeting, Easy Webinar, Demio is another. So those are some other options as well for when you're presenting, when you have more of a presentation, as opposed to an interactive meeting where you have multiple people contributing.
Excellent. Cool. Well, I don't see any other questions, and thank you all for your very kind words. Yeah, I see one person writes, "Great presentation, guys. Lots of informative content. Thank you for the download." You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I also see very comprehensive and clear. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Hey, we're happy to help. We really do hope that your business does well during these times. We know it's a big adjustment, and we know we're all going through something very unprecedented for our times. And we really do want you to succeed during that, and do know that you have ralliers. At Trinet Internet Solutions, we're rooting for each one of you. And hopefully, once this whole thing is passed, we'll be able to reconvene, give big hugs in person without staying 6 feet away. And yeah, we're just very grateful for all of you. So thank you all. And Ron, do you have any closing words?
Yeah, happy Easter, Good Friday to all of you, and happy Passover as well.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Goodbye.